So what exactly was in the deal for the Columbia River Treaty that was just scrapped by the White House? We don't actually know for sure. All of this is done behind closed doors, but there's been several reports that a general understanding was reached by both parties that had some minor adjustments to the existing 50-year agreement. Canada is still going to store excess water, and the US is still going to generate a ton of hydropower and make some of it available to Canada. But the original agreement called for a 50-50 split of that surplus energy, either sent as actual power or paid for in cash. The rumors that we heard about this agreement was that the total amount of power sharing was going to come down by some percentage. And in exchange, Canada would be responsible for less of the flood control. Now, the truth is, we probably have enough ample flood control just in the United States to handle most 100-year floods, but the agreement did supposedly allow for the United States to call on Canada to ask for additional storage if needed, presumably for some sort of fee. Again, all of this is rumor. So what would be the practical implications if this plan went forward? The short answer is not much. Lake Roosevelt would likely be operated a little bit lower during certain parts of the season. This additional flood control storage in Lake Roosevelt would mean slightly less power produced at Grand Coulee during this time period. These lower reservoir levels might affect power output at certain times of the year. Also, if the United States has to absorb more of the flood control responsibility, then at certain times of the year, the lower Columbia might have swifter currents than are normally expected, which could be disruptive to river traffic downstream near the ports. Now again, all of this is speculative, and we don't know if any of these negative consequences would actually play out. The Columbia River has been operating within a very generous margin of error for many decades. Pulling back on some of the flood control probably isn't going to be the end of the world. And sending less power to Canada should be a net win for wholesale power prices here in the US. All in all, it sounds like it was a pretty good framework of a deal. There's a lot of ways that the Columbia River Treaty could go off the rails and be weaponized against the interests of having working rivers. Let's hope that never happens.